Hello Internet, my name is Chamomile.
And I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too?
No, officer, I don't know what you're talking about. I never even met that Cyclops. So, we are emulating the original North American release of Kingdom Hearts. So this is the actual Kingdom Hearts, not any of the enhanced versions, which I bring up to say, I hope you like cutscenes, because we will not only have a policy of watching all of them because that's content, we will be unable to skip them.
I don't even have that ability, and if I did, I would never violate your autonomy by reading and sometimes altering your memory.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Speaking of which, did you remember that $100 you were supposed to send me? That you borrowed?
Shit, I totally forgot about that,
$100.
but I do now clearly remember promising to send you that. So yeah, I will be sure to get that right on over to you. Also, I realize we're not talking about the game at all. That's because the opening cutscene makes no sense, whether or not you have the context of the full game. The tutorial explains to you how to get into first-person view. This never comes up again. Okay, we're going to test out whether or not saving even works on this, because I forgot to test that part of the emulator.
Oh boy.
But it does appear to have worked out. So, we're going to test out in the second episode whether or not loading works.
Wait, I've got an idea, though. I think I can make sure it works.
I am filled with dread.
I wish that saving would work in this game.
I was about to ask about the monkey's paw. I was not fast enough on the draw. I thought we got rid of that.
The thing about the monkey's paw is we never actually find out what that third wish did. Actually, that second wish, we never find out. He could have just resurrected his son and everything is fine now. The story does not reveal what happened.
This is technically true. I do feel like I'm kind of at a disadvantage here because I don't know if I'm within range of the monkey's paw. If I were to make a wish like the third wish from the story, would the paw even count it, or?
I wish the chamomile was in range of the monkey's paw.
God damn it, Requiem. I'm listening to this guy and I'm thinking, wow, they got someone to do a really good Christopher Lee impression for this minor supporting antagonist in this 2007 video game. And then when I got to the credits, I was like, man, imagine how that conversation went. Hey, yeah, we're making Kingdom Hearts 2. You're wondering if maybe you wanted to be in the game as a voice actor? And he's like, I'm a Shakespearean-trained actor with decades of major leading roles in AAA blockbuster. We'll give you half a stock in Disney. Deal!
And also, presumably, Sora sees dead people.
Did he do the Sixth Sense too?
He did. So, game theory, everyone in the game other than Sora is dead.
But that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. I can't do his voice. I am absolutely sympathetic to his situation. He does some really good work sometimes. His voice takes getting used to. That's why I bring up the voice thing, because, my god, it's a rough first couple of episodes, but after a bit you get used to it and it's fine. But yeah, there's some episodes where you can tell, he was onto something here. He was, he really felt this one, and then there's some where it's yep, he had to produce an episode this week, and this is what he had to go with.
Hey, what's happening, man?
That is a bad accent.
Yep. And also, I feel like your recklessness with the cult artifacts is more than enough to curse this podcast plenty. Remember what happened to the Jade Empire thing? There's a reason why no one will ever be able to see that entire playthrough we recorded. We don't want to
We
repeat
don't
that
know.
disaster.
We don't know what caused those fires. That could have been anything.
I mean, I feel like from the way you phrased that last wish, the monkey's paw had to have been responsible. There is a prime directive in this universe.
I've been thinking a lot lately. Haven't
The
you?
Mickey Mouse government forbids
you.
worlds to interact with each other, keeps them all
If you hadn't
separate,
come here,
which is
I
honestly kind of
probably would've
dystopian.
never thought of
But
any of this.
the reason why I bring this up is because
Thanks.
these kids are already planning
You're
to
welcome.
visit other worlds. So they know that there are other
Sora.
worlds out there, and they think they can reach them via raft, which is kind of
You wanted
hilarious.
one,
But
didn't you?
do you think that Riku is flexing on Sora by basically telling him to share the fruit with Kairi because he doesn't think any amount of supernatural assistance is going to stop him from winning? Or do you think Riku is hoping that Sora will offer to share the fruit with him?
Maybe Riku is actually in love with Sora.
I mean, there's definitely sections of the Kingdom Hearts fandom that will argue for that. Proposity is on YouTube. He's got like 1 million-ish subscribers, and I believe right now we have 15. So I feel like, it's only a matter of time before we're peers. Okay, what do we want to call our raft?
Apparently, Excalibur.
Yeah, if we want to do the lame default
Raft
name.
Face is the obvious choice, but I feel like that's a little overdone.
Do we have any better ideas, or are we going with this?
I think we're going with that.
All right then. Yeah, where they had a sort of a theme here, where it was, they have some kind of spooky vampire word, and then also some form of Baroque or classical music. And then after a while, Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, and then after a while they sort of gave up on making them make any kind of sense at all. It's just, I don't know, Fang Requiem.
Oh, you met my brother. Now, the thing you have to know about Fang Requiem is if you can never invite him into anything, okay? Like, he seems nice, but don't invite him into your home, okay?
I mean, he seems really nice, though. He's like one of the coolest guys I know. I kind of feel like not only should I invite him into my house, but I should break into other people's homes in order to invite him into them. Blink and you'll miss it, but this is the sub quest where we chase after cool fish.
Oh, cool fish!
So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 thought it was a platformer, and it was wrong.
So you're from another world.
What? That's kind of a leap of logic.
Yeah, they seem to be aware that there are other worlds out there, even though that's specifically supposed to be a secret.
Well, you'll see. I'm
Yeah,
gonna get out and learn what's
Mickey's
out there.
secret police, who
meaningless
anybody who finds out about the other worlds gets disappeared,
One who
presumably
knows nothing
executed,
can understand
possibly just tortured.
nothing.
Is it like a Children of the Corn situation, and they sacrifice to some dark god? Like, is he who walks behind the coconuts gonna show up?
Sora, let's take the raft and go. Just the two of us.
See, Kairi's got a crush on Sora,
What's gotten
but she
into
knows
you?
that Riku has a crush on
You're
Sora.
the one that's changed, Kyrie.
She's worried about having him snatched away.
Maybe. I know
I mean,
can
you
always
can't have a
come
good
back
story
here,
without some sort of love triangle.
right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that
That's
plot
good.
device will never get played out.
Sora,
Like, love
Don't
triangles
ever
are so
change.
good that, in general, you should try to instigate them in real life as much as
just
possible,
can't
too.
wait. Once we set sail,
Yeah, that
that'll be great.
has always worked out well for me. Granted, I've never really been able to see any long-term results because my friend groups tend to collapse after a couple of weeks or months, but sooner or later, you know, that's a real rush of bad luck for sure, but sooner or later, I'll be able to see the long-term results of instigating love triangles in real life amongst my friends, which will be even better than the immediate results, I'm sure. The game is just reading a letter from Mickey, which is basically like, hey, Donald, Goofy, go and find the plot.
And it is true that that ducks evolved in
Your
Scotland.
world disappeared too.
Not a lot of people know
It
that.
was terrible. We were scattered.
Mainly because Wikipedia is lying about it.
See, I'm the only one who made it to this castle.
Wikipedia is lying about it, and the editors of Nature
Right.
will not accept
Right,
my
Jim. You mean
research
while
paper
we're
about
in
it.
other worlds,
They keep going, how did you
went
keep
on
getting this
where we're
address?
from, huh?
We filed a restraining
We
order
gotta
against
protect the
you.
world border.
What have you done with our families?
Right. World border.
Eventually I'm going to get through to this.
Okay, so these creatures appear to be invulnerable, which I feel is cheating. I always found Sora very relatable for his tendency to make friends with people with a questionable affinity for dark occult magic.
Weird. Do you have any examples of that in your own life?
Not off the top of my head, it just seems to be a thing that happens to me a lot, just sort of in general. Hello Internet, my name is Chamomile.
And I'm Fang Requiem, Requiem's brother. Don't ask what happened to Requiem. Do you have any blood you're not using, by the way?
You know what? Now that you mention it, the next time you see Requiem, just go ahead and tell him that I was totally right about the marrow, that I have recovered nearly all of the blood that I lost during the World of Horror recording, and, yeah, I'm not using most of my blood. I'm pretty sure I only need 60% of it, strictly speaking.
You think you could send some of it to me?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you have, like, a PayPal address that I could use to...
Yeah, I'm glad they finally started accepting blood as...
Yeah, no, that's been a long time coming. Maybe it's just the circles that I move in, but my understanding is that blood is basically the global reserve currency, so I don't know why it took them so long to implement that. Yeah.
She's not
Kyrie's-
a morning person.
Yeah, nah, her problem is that she got woken up, and hasn't had her coffee yet. And, so, you know that thing that happens to you sometimes where you haven't had your coffee yet, and so you become incorporeal right before you make contact with your friend?
Whoa!
Yep.
Yeah, that's the kind of day
I'm not
Kyrie's
a-
having.
I guess that monster turned out to be not relevant from season 3.
No.
Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to be written by the Wachowski sisters, though.
I want to see that game. I am there for the Wachowski sisters' Kingdom Hearts 4. From now on, we can die, so I'm going to make an effort to...
In real life or in the game?
Both. Because when you die in Kingdom Hearts, you die in real life. It's kind of weird they leave it outside on the balcony, too. Like, that is at least a private space, but... Like, I have to imagine that wasn't just a potion, that was actually, like, someone's luggage that we went through.
I have to admit, I do kind of like the town.
Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts is a very well-designed game. Like, the Heartless designs are really good. The original locations are really well-designed, and the movie locations tend to actually look like the movie they're from.
Yeah, it's Fang Requiem, not Requiem.
It is Fang Requiem, but also, like, it would be particularly embarrassing if you specifically found out about what dreams I had last night. Anyways, let's go see if Sid survived.
Hey, just so you know, there's a bunch of monsters outside.
And also, everyone else is dead.
But why? Why would it choose a kid like you?
You're 17.
Hey.
No way. I can lose.
He is not lying. There is, in fact, literally no way he can lose.
Now you're gonna...
Oh, it's Aerith. She's
Yeah.
alive?
Yeah, she seems very alive right now, so I am assuming that
Come on, lazy bum.
these
Wake
characters are before their main plot arcs in their respective games. They're tracking the
hard to
Keyblade,
believe
so we
you
put it on
of
the
all
other
people
side of the
chose
room.
me.
You're safe now.
The gun that also shoots swords.
It's also a gun.
Whisper runs on happy faces.
It's not clear how literal that is. The best part is, so, in most of these Japanese games, the standard for money is that it's roughly equivalent to yen, right? It tends to take several hundred of it to get to amount to anything. And 1 yen is loosely equivalent to 1 penny, depending on exact exchange rates, but that is a rough guide that is useful for very quick conversion. So, our much older teenage friends, our 17-year-old teenage friends, come here and it's like, here, we have a gift from you to get you started. Here is $1. And unfortunately, romance has not been invented by video games yet.
And admittedly, and that's fair since it wasn't invented in real life.
Yeah, and video game romance did predate real life romance, but not by a lot. So.
Here's the one episode where, since he is essentially just a skeleton with some feathers on it, where he compresses down to get through a hole, and it is really weird and disturbing how they animated it, and they don't really explain what is happening as he starts taking off his body parts and shoving them through the keyhole. But it was the late 80s, I think, so stuff was different then.
Yeah, the weird thing is, my mom once claimed that every day when I would watch DuckTales, or when I said I was watching DuckTales, I would actually just be staring at a screen full of static for 30 minutes.
Cam, what have we talked in the past about you hanging out with my brother, Fang, and when he says nothing has happened to me, what that means?
I'm trying to remember this conversation, but the only thing I can remember is Fang Requiem telling me not to worry about it, and there was this hypnotic look in his eye, and I can't remember anything else after that. That's just sort of completely overridden every other memory I have on the subject.
It took me a week to get out of that dungeon. You were supposed to come find me if this happened again. I've had to kill so many skeletons, and you know how afraid I am of skeletons.
I mean, I want to promise you that I'll do better next time, but, have you seen that guy's eyes, though?
My brother. I'm not really impressed by his eyes. You didn't give him any more of your blood, did you?
No. Because now that he's not here, that seems like it would be a pretty obviously foolish thing to do. Although for an unrelated reason, I do need to look up whether or not PayPal has any, fraudulent delivery, reports that I can make. Maybe for just any transaction that I want to claim, entirely honestly was initiated by someone else, and maybe reverse that transaction. And for equally unrelated reasons, I do note that I have plenty of marrow, and blood is replaceable anyway, so even if I had, it wouldn't be a long-term problem.
You know what, Cam? We're putting you back on the all-garlic diet.
I'm gonna bring up how the Jade Empire recording ended again. Granted, the monkey's paw was involved with that one, which feels like it was kind of provoking Fortuna a little bit. It is this nonsense world, and that is off-putting. It actually accidentally has this undercurrent of horror already, where just because nothing makes a whole lot of sense, and, you know, anything could happen at any time, and it is frequently, you know, a fair amount of minor misfortune befalls Alice during her misadventures in Wonderland. So it's very easy to imagine that, like, you know, okay, take that basic conceit, now add some chainsaws.
Wizard of Oz, since that has been so influenced by the movie, and they don't have any they don't have the rights on the movie. Like, the book is pretty different from the movie, like the witch having green skin and like the slippers being ruby instead of silver. Like, the witch in the actual book is like a cyclops, and she uses a magic helmet to command the flying monkeys, which nobody uses when they do anything with Wizard of Oz anymore. Also, when Dorothy first gets to the Emerald City, they make her put on emerald glasses because the city is just so radiant that she wouldn't be able to look at it without the glasses. It turns out the city's not actually made of emeralds. It's just everyone, once they get in the city, they have to wear these emerald glasses.
So yeah, we have a 3 in 5 chance of...
Well, and as you know, I am blessed by the goddess, so this is definitely going to work out. So Sora was never going to recognize the authority of any legal institution. Sora believes himself to be a power unto himself, not beholden to any law of God or man.
So, you know, Goofy is apparently guilty of the crime, but for some reason they still make a big old tower that hoists Alice far out of.
Well, she's an innocent. She has to be protected from your depravity. I mean, this whole interaction has really been a testament to the efficiency of absolute monarchy. Like, I'm converted.
It's like, oh, the upside down room, what could that mean? And then you get deeper in and there's literally an upside down room.
I guess they did not have Lewis Carroll working with writing.
He was involved originally, but there was some kind of dispute related to the compensation for the medium.
But the other part of that issue was, not Inquisition, but Dragon Age 2 really had an issue of doing endless waves of enemies every battle. The issue with that was, like, BioWare could not decide whether it wanted to do an isometric RPG, action RPG, and kind of tried to do halfway. They did this with Inquisition 2, and it just ended up not working on either level. There were just a bunch of Dalmatians of that?
Yep.
Chest?
Yeah, no, that is how the Dalmatians collectible goes.
Are they alive?
I mean, it did not depict them, so... By the way, pro Kingdom Hearts tip. Give all of your potions to Goofy. Only give potions to Donald if you have some left over. Because Donald is a little wimp who will go down in the first 30 seconds of every boss fight. I probably should have saved. Like, I wish I knew more about design so that I could more properly gush about how great the Heartless design is. Yeah, Donald is the magic party member, but he nevertheless has an ability called Berserk, in which he does the fuck everything gif. Hello, Internet. My name is Chamomile.
And I am the real Requiem. There is nothing to be concerned about.
Like, in order to be good at Blitzball, you kind of have to work directly against the theme that the Blitzball subplot sets up. Because, you know, the Blitzball subplot is all about Titus working with the Besaid Aurochs, who are, you know, these scrappy underdogs. But if you want to win at the minigame, what you gotta do is scout out some much better players that you can find lying around the overworld and replace, like, 80% of your team with these random other guys.
It's like Sora and Goofy are wearing pants, which would indicate that they're barbarians, because only barbarians wear pants at this time.
Right. Which, yeah, we gotta protect the world order whenever we remember to.
Hercules, like, killed his wife and children, and is the product of Zeus's adultery, neither of which you really want to put in media, particularly media aimed at children.
Right.
Which is why they have Hera being Hercules' mother in the movie, which is not at all correct.
Yeah, terribly concerned when he is abducted by Hades, who is now Satan. Pro game strat for Kingdom Hearts. Remember to unequip your combo bonuses before doing these time trials, because the only hit that matters on these barrels is the last one that will shatter them, and so if you have an extra blow before getting there, that's actually bad.
I do love that they actually got James Woods for the voice.
Wait, let me guess. You want to enter the games, right?
Although this is before he went alt-right.
Oh man, did he go alt-right?
I don't know if he went full alt-right, but he is a Trump supporter, at bare minimum.
Fuck. Why does this keep
Yeah,
happening?
sorry.
And he is, like, one of the best parts of a Kingdom Hearts game. So now that's tainted forever.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, we are living in the darkest timeline.
We are. I'm just gonna have the headcanon that it was some sort of, like, Videodrome brainwashing that happened to him. Like, at any point he's gonna go on Twitter and say, "Long live the new Flash," and then be back to normal. So when does Venmo show up? Like, he's my favorite character. Like, I've seen all the fan art. I've never played any of these games, but I've seen the fan art, read the fan fiction, and he's pretty awesome. It kind of makes me think of, in Mass Effect, all the mechanics that they would add and drop each game because they could not get a handle on them. Like the Land Rover thing in Mass Effect 1 that they dropped in Mass Effect 2. But then in Mass Effect 2, they had the scanning for resources, which was miserable, and they dropped it in 3.
And Kingdom Hearts actually stuck with the gummy ship thing long enough to get good at it, which is the better approach.
BioWare has this weird issue. It's kind of an unusual issue for a game company to have, is they're almost too responsive to fan feedback. And they'll do stuff where it's like, you actually should have just ignored the fans on that one.
Yeah, no, fans can tell you whether or not something is working, they cannot tell you how to fix it.
The Mega Evolutions, I felt like, were good enough that they should have just been part of the game from then on. Like the Z moves and then the giant evolutions they did. Neither one were as much fun as the Mega Evolutions. Like, the Mega Evolutions really changed the game in a way that was good. The Z moves were just not enjoyable to have. And the giant evolutions were basically Mega Evolution minus.
Right.
They were slightly less fun versions of Mega Evolutions.
Okay, really, Goofy? You gave the potion to Donald?
Hades really gets done dirty by most modern portrayals of him. Like, he's not the best, like, because none of the Greek gods are, but, like, he basically just gets turned into a generic devil figure, which is kind of uninteresting.
Yeah, I mean, Hades, you know, like, he's definitely got his dickish moments, as just about every Greek god has. But in the myths, he, for the most part, he for the most part just wants to be left alone. Like, in almost every myth he's depicted in, is that, you know, he is just hanging out in the underworld, and then, you know, someone with a dead loved one comes to him and makes a mess in his living room because they're upset about that.
A really good modern portrayal of Hades, where he's the villain, but he's not a generic devil figure, is Hades Town, which is just amazing. You got a giant Buster Sword fighting Disney cartoon characters. Like, I just have an image of his head of him like splitting Donald in half, decapitating Goofy in one strike.
Which inventory management in this game also leaves a lot to be desired. I have to shuffle these potions over one by one. There's no way to just say, hey, dump 5 of these into Goofy's 5 open slots.
So do you know what Cerberus means in ancient Greek?
I assume it refers to when an initially lighthearted comic strip becomes darker and more dramatic over time as the characters become established and long-running arcs develop. If you wanted to assemble a cast of like new Disney villains, of like year 2000 on Disney villains, as a council of evil for a new Kingdom Hearts game, you would basically have like Facilier sitting at an empty table. 70% of our show is picking up Lindsay Ellis' table scraps from the media she doesn't cover. 80% sure that simply overhearing through YouTube the assorted monkey's paw wishes and vampire abductions and so far won't have any negative effects upon your own metaphysical safety. So it's fine.
It's fine, and I am the real Requiem. He's not been replaced. Ask me something that only the real Requiem would know.
How do you feel about cool fish?
Oh, I love cool fish.
Okay, but on second thought, I feel like that is something that anyone could get right. Who wouldn't love cool fish?
That is true. That is true.
Okay, which 1994 movie was directed and written by a then closeted director and has been interpreted to be a metaphor for the struggles of growing up gay in a homophobic society?
Oh, that's easy. That is Independence Day 2, actually.
And I'm just now realizing that the only way I have of verifying this is to ask Requiem, because he's the only one who would know.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's the second Independence Day, which definitely came out in 1994.
That sounds legit.
I don't think anyone's ever done a queer reading of the Independence Day movies, but...
I mean, I think I know what we're doing after Kingdom Hearts, then. There's definitely differences between Greek myth and comic book continuities, but one of the biggest ones is just that our modern myths are getting maimed by our copyright system.
Yeah.
Like, we would not have to care about bad Star Wars movies if anyone could make a Star Wars movie. Because what happens with these, and this happens really consistently, is sooner or later, after a couple of decades of shakeout, which, Star Wars came out in the 70s, that has already happened, or would have at least. After a couple of decades of shakeout, someone gathers up all the best stories and assembles them into a single continuity, and by virtue of being really good, that is the continuity that becomes accepted, and people begin building from that.
No problem.
It's like there is this natural, like, git merge that happens. Like, human storytelling is self-regulating so far as quality goes.
Okay. We'll be...
Like, look, kid, your motivations don't mean dick to me.
I'm an agent of the king.
My name is Chamomile.
And I've been informed that I am legally required to refer to myself as Requiem.
I have to assume that the details of that legal decision are something you've been advised by your lawyer not to disclose.
Indeed. It's funny, in the book, he actually learns to read English before he learns to speak it, and when he does learn to speak it, he speaks it perfectly.
Right. My friends. There's 2 of them. The loud one is Donna.
Edgar Rice Burroughs did not understand how language acquisition works.
Sora, by the way, is like the most asshole American tourist about this whole thing. You know, he tries to make himself understood by speaking loudly and slowly in a language that Tarzan, you know, like, that his vocabulary is his vocabulary, man. You're not going to fix it by yelling at him.
There's a Union Jack on this flagpole, which kind of implies that this is the world, like, that is the real world.
Yeah, this is just Earth. That it's just Earth in the 1880s.
Just raises a lot of questions about how this universe functions.
And the official name of this world is Deep Jungle. Which... Okay, but Jane is not from the Deep Jungle.
Which is one of those frustrating things, because Tarzan is this 100-year-old character written by a man who's been dead for 70 years. And even though the books are technically public domain, like, the name is trademarked, and a lot of, like, the Bros estate will go after you. Like, there was a comic book that was just like a comic book adaptation of the books, but it wasn't like the actual text of the books, and they went after the comic book writers. A lot of Tarzan, the actual book, is like deeply questionable nowadays. Like, it's really deeply uncomfortable to read. Cam, I don't think, has read the actual book, but I have, and it is not a comfortable read in 2020, let me tell you. So I guess, like, we could start off by asking, so, Cam, in the language of the apes, so what does Tarzan...
Entirely wholesome protagonist, which shall never in any way be uncomfortable to read or think about. It's a very efficient language.
Tarzan means white skin. It's deeply uncomfortable. Rather than choosing, like, smooth skin or clever or, like, stands upright, it's white skin. It's... Well, the thing about Tarzan is, like, you really want to have him spend a lot of time outside of the jungle. Like, I feel like the whole point of this character is that you do the old fish out of the water trope. But the book, at least the first book, he spends just barely at the end is when he gets out of Africa. And there's like a little point where he goes to Wisconsin to talk to Jane because he wants to marry her. Does not spend a lot of time outside of the jungle, which seems like the whole point of having a character like this. Oh hey, the most dangerous animal in Africa. And we just jumped on it. That raises a lot of questions.
It's fine. They're fine. And bear in mind, the impetus for this plot is that they're looking for Riku, Kairi, and Mickey. And Donald is already pretty sure that Mickey isn't here, so mainly just Riku and Kairi. And they have no particular reason to believe that they are in this specific spot of the jungle, except that they are combing over literally the entire jungle.
So they really didn't have to... Like, Tarzan could have just gone into the nesting grounds and be like, no, there's no humans there. Or weird mouse people. And then you get another interesting question, is why is Tarzan clean-shaven? Like...
For that matter, how is Tarzan clean-shaven? The story goes that Robert E. Howard became less racist because of Lovecraft's influence, where, like, you know, he heard Lovecraft talking about it, and he was like, holy shit, is that what that sounds like? And he backed away from it a little bit.
I guess, like, it's not, I'm not defending how Tarzan portrays this. I'm just saying how Tarzan portrays it.
I mean, I should hope that's obvious by now. We haven't exactly been very pro Edgar Rice Burroughs so far.
So not only, and about the midway through the book, a group of black Africans show up in Tarzan's, I guess, island? I don't remember. But in the book, they are explicitly fleeing King Leopold II's genocide of Africans in the Congo. And they're kind of villains. Like, they're described as, like, cannibals, and Tarzan basically terrorizes them for a pretty significant portion of the book. It's deeply uncomfortable, especially since it's not like, this is not by implication that, like, I'm not going, oh, well, if you squint, you can see that they're supposed to be from the Congo. It specifically
Yeah.
says that they're from the Congo and they're fleeing the genocide there. They doesn't
Yeah.
use the word genocide, but it says the terrors of King Leopold, basically. It's deeply uncomfortable to read.
You had the quote earlier, right? Do you still have it up?
Let me see if I do.
Because like I do want to. If we're getting into this, then I want to make it perfectly clear that this is not like, oh hey, well if you check the dates, this is going on at the same time. No, it is very explicit.
Yeah, I've got the quote up. Quote, to add to the fiendishness of their cruel savagery was the poignant memory of still crueler barbarities practiced upon them and theirs by the white officers of that arch-hypocrite, Leopold II of Belgium, because of whose atrocities they had fled the Congo Free State, a pitiful remnant of what had once been a mighty tribe.
So like at least Leopold is portrayed as like a shitty person.
Yes.
You can at least say that much for Tarzan, but also yes, yikes.
Yikes. Big yikes.
So, you know, the main challenge here is that in order to hit them with the spell properly, I have to be locked onto them. That takes control of the camera away from me, and so then I have to try and figure out how to see them properly with my party members in the way.
Like I did read the article for one of the cases. It was about this kid in Russia who was allegedly raised by dogs. The actual case was that like he was in an urban area, and it seemed like he was just in a position of extreme poverty for a couple years with a dog pack, and he was like 4 to 6. So it seemed more like a case of of homelessness than raised by animals.
Yeah, like they call it raised by dogs, but what they meant was homeless and had a dog. We have to fight some more. We have to go save some more apes from some Heartless. Then we have to go fight Clayton. It really is. We just wander around near aimlessly while plot beats happen in our vicinity.
I do feel like Disney made a lot of good choices in their adaptation, like just having big gorillas instead of some weird fantasy ape.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense that like in the 1919 or whenever Tarzan was written, like they didn't really know much about gorillas and they were assumed to be like pretty violent. Like, but then post Jane Goodall going down and doing all her research, like the popular perception of gorillas has changed so much, you might as well just have be gorillas. There's another thing about Tarzan that kind of gets lost in the adaptations. Disney actually does this accurate to the book, that Tarzan's like pretty lean, sort of like cat-like. But especially in like the 40s adaptations with Johnny Weissmuller, which were sort of like the big adaptations, at least live action, he's much more barrel-chested, and that sort of was the popular image of Tarzan for a long time, that he's big and beefy instead of more gymnast-like. It's one of those changes that got made in the movie that sort of devoured the original book version, like how the Wicked Witch of the West, having green skin. In the book, she's just a normal white person, but she's also a Cyclops, and she has a magic helmet.
Just one of those normal white person Cyclopses.
Or Frankenstein having green skin and a flat head and being inarticulate. When in the book he's kind of handsome. He looks a little ill. Like his skin is kind of yellowish, but he's also completely articulate. He has like philosophical debates with Dr. Frankenstein.
Hello, Internet. My name is Chamomile.
And I am off-brand Lindsay Ellis. It's really frustrating with how long copyright is now. It's like by the time something enters the public domain, its moment has completely passed. Like, I was talking with Chamomile, and he was like, I would not pay $100 for the rights to Tarzan.
Yeah, no,
and
I like.
It's like at this point, we've spent like probably an hour talking about all the issues with the book. Like at this point, probably all you would be buying for with the rights that you would use is the name, and I guess the yell.
Like if I were doing a feral child story, then I'm pretty sure the way that I would do this is I would have them in the jungle for Act 1. I would have them leave the jungle as part of Act 2, because, you know, they have to, like, save a friend or something, or, you know, some humans come in and they are fascinated, and so they follow the humans back, like stowing away on their ship or whatever. And then in Act 3, they have to go back to the jungle in order to save the jungle from, the evil humans who are here to shoot all the apes or whatever. And every time I catch myself saying ape, the split second afterwards, I think to myself, that humans are apes. That's the wrong word. But I keep using it, though. Which obviously, there's something that I'm just dashing off the top of my head, so, like, by no means am I married to this. But that is the obvious way that you would do it, and it has fuck all to do with how Tarzan is plotted and paced.
Like, he needs to experience sort of, like, the most human, like the sort of peak of human separateness from nature. It needs to be a big city. Having Clayton be, like, the villain rather than just a guy who's there is another thing that I think Disney did correct.
Yeah, no, you definitely want some kind of poachers to be your villains, where,
some sort of great white hunter type.
Yeah, they're from the human world, and they're coming into the gorilla world, and they're bad news.
Edgar Rice Burroughs also wrote John Carter of Mars, which is one of those...
I tried to read that one. I love its premise, but I was never able to get into it. I couldn't get past the writing.
So now we get to absorb Clayton's heart to gain his strength, right?
I mean, we did level up from beating him to death with a key, so I assume so. But yeah, it's the annoying thing about this world. I was able to get through it relatively quickly because I still have most of this game memorized. But there's a bunch of apes in danger from the Heartless that you have to go and save. There's no indication of where they are, or how many there are, or even that you should be doing this. Like, you don't know that this advances the plot until it has advanced the plot.
It's one of those things that, and also, like, it feels like this road of trials is pretty dependent on you having the context of the movie. Like they all feel like if you had not seen the movie, you would have no idea what's going on.
So if you dig deep enough into the game's lore...
Oh boy. Tarzan is actually the original Keyblade. Donald is actually a clone of the original Donald, who was actually a Heartless. You're not challenging me on any of these, so I'm assuming they're all true.
I mean, if I challenge you on them, you might stop.